Okay, we're about to go. Right, we are live. I'm just going to move this chair because you don't need that next to you. It's not very nice.
Okay, you want to... Where do you want
Yeah. Well, we are live right now.
Sure.
I didn't realise that chair was in. Okay, everybody. That looks better. Okay, tell us who you are, please.
My name is Janet Levatin, and I am a holistic pediatrician in the Cleveland, Ohio area.
What exactly is a holistic pediatrician? What does that mean?
Well, as a holistic pediatrician, I am always trying to look for the natural solutions to help people get healthy and stay healthy. So that has to do with what we eat, how we carry out our pregnancy as an expectant mother, how we give birth, how we handle our newborn, and then when illnesses and ailments do come into the lives of our children, which is inevitable into every life, something will come. How are we handling that? Are we using pharmaceuticals, drugs, toxins, or are we attempting to use homeopathy, herbs, natural methods?
So some people might say, oh, well, she's a holistic pediatrician. She's not a proper pediatrician. Could you explain your qualifications and how you got the title of pediatrician?
Well, I am a proper pediatrician because I went to medical school at the George Washington University, graduating in 1982. And then I did a pediatric internship and residency at the University of Medicine and Dentistry of New Jersey. That ended in 1986. And I became board certified as a pediatrician, and so I have all of the conventional training and all of that expertise, but I have added on extra training. My main expertise is in homeopathy, which I love because it's an awesome treatment modality that's very safe, easy to administer to children, assists the body in healing its own self, so it's great for chronic and acute health problems.
When you went to medical school, so you trained as just like anyone else, as a normal white coat pediatrician to start with. What made you go the holistic way? What did you see, or what on earth? Because I presume you started out to become a pediatrician.
Well, I'm trying to write a memoir, and I'll hopefully someday finish it. But going all the way back, I really can say that I was following someone else's dream when I went to medical school. I was young. I didn't really know what I was doing in life. My father had been a doctor. I wasn't sure what my direction was. So I ended up going to medical school without really knowing what I was getting into. And I discovered pretty soon after I was in there that I didn't really align with everything that I was learning. And things came to a crisis point a couple years into that training, and I had to make a decision whether I was going to leave the field or whether I was going to figure out how to make it work for me and make it my own. So I actually took a year off of school in the middle to do that soul searching and do some research into different types of alternatives that were out there. I decided to go back to the training and finish that up, but with a commitment that I would do something more natural, alternative, holistic, whatever you want to call it.
All right, let's talk about the COVID thing and what we're about to see. We're already hearing reports of RSV and all the scaremongering starting to happen. Your baby's going to die if you don't get the RSV vaccine, or while you're pregnant, and all that kind of nonsense. Let's talk first of all about COVID. What did you see as a pediatrician during COVID?
Well, when they first announced COVID, the first thought I had was, oh, here we go, another scam. They tried it with MERS, and they tried it with SARS and Ebola and Zika. I'm like, this is not going to catch on. But somehow they got their formula correct, and they got it to catch on. But the whole time I was thinking, this is a scam. I mean, people were sick, people are sick, but I don't really think that it's a viral illness that's causing this. I mean, the death rates around the world were the same as they had been in previous years, the average of previous years, until they introduced the vaccine, and that's when we've had all of these excess deaths going on, sudden deaths, teenagers, athletes just dropping dead, entertainers, newscasters, we've all seen that even on the conventional media. So what is making people sick? I mean, they were introducing 5G. I think that's a big player. I have some very holistic people in my practice, eating correctly, breastfeeding, doing all the right things. They took a trip to Chicago, which is very technological, that place, and they stayed in a home of friends that's a smart home, like all of the appliances and the light switches are connecting to the internet. Not to mention there were fragrances and toxic laundry products and that type of thing in this home. They came back, these two little children were sick as a dog. They were having ear infections, sinus infections, mucus, ruptured eardrums, coughs, fevers, and these are unvaccinated people using no conventional meds. So it took a lot. We had to use all types of supplements and homeopathic remedies, repeated appointments to help these children get healthy again. It was like a journey. I got them using EMF protectors. I was telling you before that I wear this. I feel very different when I wear it because I believe that electromagnetic fields are really affecting people negatively.
Also hearing from parents who are not vaccinating their children, black mold being found in the house. What do you know about that?
Mold is very toxic, and mold, from what I have heard, will proliferate in the presence of electromagnetic fields because it feels threatened, like the EMF is going to kill the mold, so the mold is going to proliferate to kind of try to defend itself and protect itself. I mean, I'm pretty old now. Should I say how old I'm going to be next
Sure,
month?
if you want to.
I'm going to be 70 next month. So I've been, living for, a long time. And I never used to smell mold in places. I call myself the beagle because I smell everything, especially things I don't like to smell, like, laundry products and fragrances. I smell it all. And I never used to smell mold, maybe just occasionally. Now I smell mold in so many places that I go. And I believe it's in part because of these EMFs. So mold, we all have different types of bacteria in our body. Maybe bacteria and parasites could be associated with Lyme or other tick-borne infections. But when you get all types of influences coming together within one person, the Lyme pathogens, the mold, the EMFs, glyphosate, I cannot overstate the toxicity of glyphosate, also known as Roundup, which is very insidious because you can't smell it, you can't taste it, you can't see it, but wow, is it making people sick? And there's an explanation for why it's associated with almost any illness that you can think of.
So your message must be eat organic.
Yes. I mean, food is a nightmare. Listen, if you want to avoid vaccines, up to this point, that's not that hard. It's just don't go to the places where they're giving vaccines or just, say no. That's an episodic event that's pretty easy to avoid. If you want to avoid unhealthy food, good luck because you are just surrounded by a sea of unhealthy food. And, you're within your own home, maybe you can try to do well, but you step out your door and people are offering your kids, the pizza and the mac and cheese and the lollipops and whatever else it is. That's very difficult.
Going forward, we're going to go into winter and there's going to be lots of fear-mongering, as we just talked about, and RSV is going to be huge. Your baby's going to die. Get your baby the COVID shot, the flu shot, 6 months and above. What is, as a pediatrician, what is your message to parents?
Well, there's, many different messages, but one of the messages, I just got this book and I'll just hold it up because I'm looking forward to reading it. And I'm pretty sure I know what the book says, which is almost no matter, did you get a picture of the book? Yeah. Almost no matter how we look at it, the vaccinated children are the unhealthy ones and the unvaccinated children. Did I say that right? The vaccinated children are the unhealthy ones and the unvaccinated children are the healthy ones. I'm not a bona fide scientist, I'm a clinician, but I see in my office the kids who come in who are unvaccinated are the healthy ones. They are not having chronic illnesses and chronic conditions. Yes, they may get an acute ailment here and there, but we give them some herbs, some homeopathy, they're going to bounce back and they're going to carry on. These unvaccinated kids with, asthma, eczema, allergies, autoimmune conditions, autism, developmental problems. It's just so sad, and people still don't seem to know. I mean, many people do know, but many people just don't know about the toxicity of vaccines. I learned about this many years ago, back in the 1980s when, I might have talked to you about this before, but I saw early in my training 3 babies die of SIDS, so-called SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, within 24 hours of being vaccinated. So it was like, vaccinated, 2 p.m., and then dead at 2 a.m. And the first time I saw that happen, I was in my residency, and Obviously, I didn't know everything back then that I know now because more and more information has come out. But something just went inside my heart and mind, and I knew that the vaccine had something to do with it. So when I had my son a couple years later, I didn't vaccinate him, and this is, almost 39 years ago. I knew back then that I didn't want to vaccinate him. I also didn't want him to have a very painful procedure when he was born because I had seen how that was done. Am I allowed to talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, circumcision, when I was in my training, they were doing circumcisions on the babies in the nursery, and they're like, hey, come on in this room and watch us do it a couple times, then you can do it to a baby. So they, strap the baby down in 4-point restraints and do what I call genital cutting with no anesthesia. And then they wanted me to do it, and I said, no, I'm not going to do it. First of all, I didn't think I could do it properly after just, watching it a couple times. And then I was thinking in my mind, well, even if I could do it, why would I want to do it? And I said, listen, I'm going out of this room and I'm not coming back in, and I'm not doing it. I don't know why I was different than the other doctors, but I just was. So then when I had my son a couple years later, I said, we're not doing it, no discussion, we're just not doing that to him. Because you got to think about that from the little baby's perspective. He's just emerged from the womb. He's trying to breathe. He's looking at the lights. He's looking around. He's trying to figure out, can I start to build trust with somebody? I have to try to latch to the breast. And you're strapping him in 4-point restraints and doing this procedure. Maybe you, as the parent, think you know why you're doing it. But what in the baby's consciousness, you could be trying to kill him. He has no idea what's going on, except that something very traumatizing and painful is happening. I think that's another part of why there's so much trauma, internalized trauma in our society. Just think of our poor males and what's being done to them on day one of life. A study was done where they recorded some of the brain waves of babies before a circumcision and then afterwards, and there were changes in the emotional and higher learning centers of the brain that did not revert back to prior to the procedure. So this is not right. This is not right. Not to mention you need a vitamin K shot to have it done in the hospital because that participates in blood clotting. So yeah, I gave a talk a while ago about they're trying to make you think all along that something is wrong with you and something is wrong with your baby. Like you're pregnant, they're making you take a test to check for genetic problems. They're telling you you could be diabetic, you have to take this glucose tolerance test where you drink this jug of, sugary water. Of course, that's going to make anybody's blood sugar be abnormal. They want to tell you there's something wrong, you have diabetes, your baby could have a malformation, you need to take Tdap shots because you could pass pertussis on to your baby, when meantime, we know from research that people who take acellular pertussis vaccines have a lifetime increased susceptibility to having pertussis, so it actually has negative effectiveness. They want your baby's born, there's something wrong with his genitals, we need to do cutting. He's not going to blood clot, we need to give him a vitamin K shot. Could get hepatitis B next month, so we have to give him a hepatitis B vaccine. It's like an internalized dialogue that there is something wrong with you, and it starts from within the womb. So it's an uphill battle for people to combat this and work against this. So I am always talking to people about you have the power, you know what to do, you can use natural methods, you are the master of your own health. And then if you do need help, you can come to somebody like me who's going to, number one, not be working under the dictates of what insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies tell me to do. I'm going to be trying to help you in the best ways that I know fit. I'm going to be suggesting natural methods, supplements, herbs, vitamins, homeopathics, lifestyle changes. So
how can people follow you? They want to learn out more about what you're doing.
How can people follow me? Well, I work at a place called Hyper Health Wellness Center in Medina, Ohio. We do have a website. It's hyperhealthwc.com. I will say that I don't do a lot of blogging and content because I just don't have time, or maybe I don't have the incentive to do it.
You're busy looking after babies, as pediatricians should be.
Babies, yeah. I am in the middle of writing a book. It's going to be called something like Getting Healthy and Staying Healthy with Dr. Janet's Natural Alternatives, because I realize I give a lot of advice to people and I'm always sort of repeating some of the same things, and I thought, let me start writing some of this out and I can give some handouts. And I started a chapter on how to care for your skin, because your skin is your biggest organ and it's an organ of detoxification. And like, I have one chapter here, let me just start adding chapters on vaccines, nutrition, pregnancy, childbirth, how to care for your newborn, how we think, developing your intuition, which is very important. So many parents have told me, I didn't want to give those vaccines, but they twisted my arm and they scared me. No, you stick to your intuition. You can always research. You can always do that vaccine down the line if you decide it's the right thing. The only reason to do it is if you think it's going to be healthy for your child, not because someone's telling you to do it, not to travel, not to go to a school, not for your spouse, although that can be a difficult one. And if you do think it's going to be healthy for your child, it's probably because you're just not educated properly on the topic. I mean, there's the word ignorance actually means lack of knowledge. You might be smart, but you just might be ignorant or lacking in knowledge, and you have to inform yourselves these days. You cannot take the advice of what other people are saying, including me. Research what I say and see what you think.
Thank you for doing this interview. Thank you so